So I want to get into real estate for freedom. And then I got into flipping houses and realized I created this job, this stress. The more properties I was doing, it became pretty painful. More and more painful as I went,
Yeah.
because I'm adding more and more projects and more staff and more, so I think people can have a tendency to do that. And so now we think very, very differently in terms of like, what it is that we want our days to look like. And for us, it's like the whole goal of this is for autonomy, to control our schedule and to have a big impact. And so I think it's super important for people to have an active source of income and then a passive source income from their investments. But when you think about the active source, it doesn't necessarily have to be something that is like a 9 to 5 or is, like you said, running you ragged and, causing a ton of stress. You can set it up in a way like you just talked about, where now it's going to be a business that you're running. You're forced to run remotely. So you're going to handle it a lot differently, and it's going to operate without you being in the mix. So I appreciate you clarifying that.
Absolutely.
I'm curious about mindset. This is what your
Yeah.
podcast focuses on. Is there a point where you realize the impact the right mindset had on your success? And are there practices you do personally to ensure you stay in the right headspace?
Sure.
Because I think it is super important.
Yeah. I think it's really important too. So thanks for taking us down this segue, because I want to say that it's not an overnight success, just like my mindset wasn't overnight, and just like it's a journey and not a destination. I still continue to work on it every single day. So the very first book that I read that really changed my mindset was Mindset by Carol Dweck.
Mm.
And it really focused on how there's a difference between a fixed mindset and a growth mindset. And it's not one size fits all. You're not either growth or fixed. Your actual, your own psychology will flip depending on what it is you're thinking about, talking about, doing. So that was really pivotal in letting me know that, hey, sometimes my own mindset inhibits me from accomplishing my goals. So that was really my first step into it. But then the second book was Miracle Morning, and that helped habits with Atomic Habits and everything else. But me being an advocate of self growth, I can't pinpoint one individual influencer, one individual book, because if you look at my Facebook feed now, or the algorithms that feed me YouTube videos, it's 90% growth mindset, breaking bad habits, all of that. So really it's what you feed yourself on a day-to-day basis, including your sphere of influence. So that's one thing I talk about heavily on our podcast. Your sphere of influence is going to be different than your social circle. And
Mm.
when you start to notice this, actually, I'm just coming up with this now. When you start to notice that you're going to be leaning more on your sphere of influence and the people that have that good mindset, positive affirmations, positive, believe in power of positive thinking, that's when you start to realize that you're making that shift to better yourself. Because, at the beginning, I was still FOMO. Fear of missing out every single day. Oh, I want to hang out with my buddies. I want to go to the bars. I want to, I should be in the gym hanging out with Chris or Jimmy and hanging out with these guys. I can't believe they went to this and that. But now, I used to get upset when they wouldn't call me for things, but now it's almost like, I don't have time for that. I want to hang out with Mark. I want to hang out with Tom. I want to hang out with Kirby, because these are the guys that are really thinking about my future. And when I started to see that shift, that I no longer really cared about my not that I don't care. I still love those guys, love to see them. But when I started thinking that I want to be in my sphere of influence more, is really when I realized my mind shift has shifted. Like, I'm a different person. I'm the same person, but I'm different. And now I'm building on my self-esteem, negative self-doubts. I'm really focusing on power of positive thinking, affirmations. So yeah, I have a daily routine. I went down a bunch of rabbit holes there, but I have
No, it's all
positive
good.
affirmations. And again, like I said, YouTube, Facebook, the daily feeds are 90% these positive thinkings, business talks, like even Daniel Pena, that's like, you're a bum if you hang out with bums, but it's that type of message. So
Man, that's so good. I agree with that. I never have heard it. I haven't heard it phrased quite like that before. But thinking about my own situation, I've done the exact same thing in terms of, having a social circle previously. As when you're young, you don't, kind of choose friends based on proximity and interests and that sort of thing. But then as you grow, it starts to become more obvious what you want in your life and what you want your life to look like. And I think you start to adjust the people you're drawn toward as a result. You still have maybe those contacts, like you said, but I've gotten away from a lot of especially the negative people. It's not
oh
even,
yeah.
they're not even a part of my like life
Oh
in
yeah.
any way at all. Like as soon as somebody's negative, just doesn't, I can't even understand, like relate to what they're saying. And the people that I gravitated toward, who I used to follow, now are starting to become some of my peers and in my, social network, which just happened organically over time. Like you mentioned, it's a process. When you start
Yeah.
to think in those terms, you draw in other people who think in those terms, and slowly your mind starts to shift in that direction, and you get all kinds of positive results
Yeah.
as a result of that. But yeah, that's really interesting how you phrase that, and some of the practices that you do. Some of those books I think are fantastic that you mentioned. Um, so I guess from here then, um, what is your goal? I don't know if the trip that you're taking is kind of like a milestone for you, and you're trying to get to a certain goal before that takes place, or what's your goal with real estate investing going forward?
Yeah. So it's not a financial goal. It's really that we want to jump into more of what the overall goal was to begin with. Freeing up more time, doing larger projects, getting involved with capital raising, syndications, items like that, that you can scale
Hmm.
and that you can outsource a lot more of that day-to-day nitty-gritty. So when it comes to real estate investing, these 2 to 4 units, when you buy those are really just buying yourself a job. Just like you said, if you can't step away from the business, you didn't create a company, you created a job. Um, so we don't really have a specific goal set in mind, which may be, bad on our part. But really, the whole RV and the point of the RV was to get away from the hustle and bustle, get away from the distractions, and really get ourselves out there to different real estate markets, identify the markets that we'd love to operate in, and at the same time, while we're visiting these locations, be able to connect with other operators that that we'll be able to partner with, that have complementary skill sets. Maybe they're doing operations, and we're the investor relations, the capital raising aspect, from far. So really, that's our whole goal when it comes to the RVing, and that's our whole goal for um our long-term goal is just to be able to spend more time with family. We do have a financial goal that I won't state because I hate financial goals really. It's really just about being financially comfortable and doing the things that you love to make yourself happy. I
Right.
used to I used to be the guy that's like, "Oh, I want $1 billion in assets, blah blah blah," and it's like, but why? But
Exactly.
why? Like,
That's the question, is why.
is why.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I wouldn't, I can't be a proponent of my message of saying, don't overlook what you have around you today because you could be happy today. I can't be a proponent of that message if I'm not taking advantage of it myself. So the $1 billion isn't going to make me happier than I can be today. Like,
Yeah.
we'll be able to do more things and hang out a little bit more. I'm not saying the workload's going to be less, workload's probably going to be more. So it's really just time, the time with the family.